My name is Aidan Hetrick, and I'm teaching my dad about the Neirsee affair. Um, Dad, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Russell Hetrick.
All right. So basically, in class, we've been learning about the slave trade. And in that, we read a book called Inhuman Traffic, which covered a specific affair called the Neirsee affair, which covered a Dutch ship that had been discovered. Basically, some background information. In 1807, England or Britain had banned the slave trade. They abolished the slave trade, but the slavery was still allowed in the colonies until 1833. So there was still like illegal slave trading going on. There's like smuggling, and slavery was still legal through other countries nearby, like Portugal, Spain, and the Netherlands. And so, kind of to enforce their ban on the slave trade, what they did was they had their navy go out and patrol ships. So they'd look around for ships that had like different flags. Basically, if you had a flag that was, say, of the Netherlands, Spain, or any of those countries I mentioned before, they'd look at your ship, see if you had any slaves smuggled on board, and if you didn't, go on your way. But if you did, then they would like capture your ship and take the slaves. So essentially what happened was there was a Dutch ship, I believe 1829, where the Royal Navy was patrolling, and they found this Dutch ship. And whenever they went onto the Dutch ship, it seemed just like a normal slave trading kind of thing going on, where they had slaves on board. But actually, after investigating further, it turned out that there were British citizens that were enslaved on there. And basically, this whole entire it's called the Neirsee affair. It caused kind of like a public uproar about the abolition movement, because it made slavery feel closer to home, with British citizens being enslaved. And so it became a diplomatic issue with the Netherlands because it was a Dutch ship. And there was political debate about it, and it really showed that to enforce abolition, it wasn't just changing the law, it was actually something that needed to be enforced like on ground. Just changing the law wasn't going to do anything. And it ended up making it to where they were more strict on enforcing it, and being a greater figure in the abolition movement of slave trade. And like I was saying earlier, I kind of jumped away from it to give you some background info. The whole entire reason there was still a need for the slave trade then was because slavery itself was not banned in British colonies. The slave trade was. So that's why they had these ships from other countries coming in, and also the smuggling. So yeah, just checking my timer to see where I'm at.
Okay.
Any questions?
So hadn't Britain already abolished slavery? Or?
Yeah, so they had abolished the slave trade,
Okay.
but not slavery itself. Slavery itself didn't end until 1833 in British colonies, and so, like I just said, they had not a need for it, but the British had the need for it.
Okay. All right. So how could British citizens be enslaved?
So many of them were tricked, coerced into becoming a slave, or even just taken by force. They were smuggling, so they were already doing illegal stuff. So it's kind of like What's one more crime?
So they basically were enslaved as a punishment for whatever they had been doing.
Sometimes, yeah. It was sometimes like that, or it was just they needed more. They needed more slaves to maybe make more money, and so they would if they just like take you by force.
Okay. So, what changed after this Neirsee affair?
So after the affair, more diplomatic pressure on the Netherlands, more reinforcement of the Navy patrolling the waters, and also it reinforced Britain's view on abolition more than it was before. Seeing that their own citizens were being enslaved, it kind of lit a fire to move them towards abolishing slavery fully, actually, because the Neirsee event happened in 1829, I believe, and then in 1833 they abolished slavery in British colonies outright.
All right. So it moved from being a more intellectual movement to being a more populist movement where the people were saying they wanted this change made.
Yeah, especially because it was happening to their own people.
Okay.